Well, of course, adoption's not going to fill the gaps of a role-less America. This is an interview with a woman that wrote a book, Catherine Joyce, called The Child Catchers. And it's about adoption and Christianity and capitalism. But you know, yeah, how it wrings every dollar it can out of it. Out of the situation. And of course, you know, I would see those bumper stickers right after Roe. Adoption, not abortion. You know, that's saying a woman is a thing. Is a goddamn thing to manufacture a baby. And, you know, oh, it's just easy peasy. Have a baby, give it up. So then 20 years down the road, or 25 years down the road, that the woman gets a knock on the door, and there's this stranger there that claims that they're the son or the daughter, and they want to know why the hell you gave them up. Yeah, that's really the answer. Well, of course, the big thing was not abortion, of why there are fewer babies left for adoption. It's because those women who opt to go through the pregnancy, they keep the baby. That's the reason. And I think they show a statistic here, that a more recent statistic about how, you know, pre-1970, it was like almost half of babies were given up that were from unwed mothers. But then it was sometime after 1989, I'm not going to scroll down here, find it out, but only about 1%. But of course, never fear. These entitled couples, because it's invariably couples, if they can't adopt the traditional way, they'll pay a woman to have a baby. Ask old Pete Buttigieg. Ask Anderson Cooper. Ask Kim Kardashian. I think she did that. Ask these celebrities that bought reproductive prostitutes to have babies for them. And isn't that something? You know, it really is. A woman's life is a life of trying to have self-respect. And self-respect is killed at every turn. It really is. I was rereading Andrea Dworkin's Right-Wing Women. And, you know, that was her best book. I've talked about it before. And she just really nailed it. You know, it's all about women's struggle to find individuality and dignity in a society that sees women as a fuck toy and an incubator. And so, since society, male-dominated, sees women as a fuck toy and an incubator, women have to prostitute themselves in order to survive. That's what the whole wage system is, why women are denigrated in the labor force, why the wage gap exists, and why it will never go away. Because I've talked about the family wage notion, and that men are providers and women are dependents, but it forces women, the whole notion of underpaying women or denigrating entire occupations where they predominate, the whole intention of it is to force women into marriage, so that way the men get their dicks in. So women grow up thinking they have to have a dick. They have to have a man's dick in order to have decent mobility, or even a standard of living at all, because it's so damn rigged. It's so stinking rigged. And that's what all this is about. That's what all this abortion shit is about. It has nothing to do with fetuses. It never did. It's whether you see a woman as a human. And it seems to me, men on all kinds of the political spectrum, they don't respect women's freedom unless it's the freedom for women to prostitute themselves. Whether they prostitute themselves in prostitution, as we know, as it's commonly known, or they prostitute themselves in surrogacy, or they prostitute themselves in pornography, or they prostitute themselves in beauty pageants, whether they prostitute themselves in a lot of modeling, or whether they prostitute themselves in marriage, because marriage is a form of prostitution. And this is one of the reasons, when you have an insight like that, why women just despise radical feminism, because it makes them uncomfortable. No woman wants to be taught or be told that she hoarded her life away. And that's basically what you do. You know, I would hear women, oh, I'm going to go, oh, we're going, it's always we, oh, we're going to Disneyland, oh, we're going to Hawaii, oh, we're going to travel to Europe, oh, we're going to buy a new house. It's always this we, okay? And unless, it is never an I, unless the woman has inherited it one way or the other, is in was allowed in a field that largely shuts women out, so the pay is overpaid, or she's divorced and has a big divorce settlement. Never married women almost never can do this, all this stuff, or it takes a lot longer to do it. So they're always bragging about it, but I always think, well, what did you have to do to get it? You had to put out sexually to get all of that. And Andrea Dworkin says, yeah, the cock is the condition for all of that. How can you eat? How can you have shelter over your head? How could you live? How could you even survive? That's what women are taught. They're just not told. They're told, you know, it's love, it's romance, it's commitment, it's all that blah 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 blah. But it's basically, it's selling yourself. And then you look at the beauty industry, you look at the diet industry, the cosmetic surgery industry, all of that. And all of that is designed, first of all, to make women feel like shit about themselves, because it's largely aimed at women. And it's to make them fuckable, so they can survive. And they'll go into massive debt on makeup, $300,000 over a lifetime, the average woman, just on makeup. They'll go into massive tons of poverty in order to lure a guy. Even though they don't, the individual woman doesn't see it that way. They'll say, well, it completes my look. Oh, I need it for work. You know, so on and so on and so on. But the purpose of it is really, whether an individual woman thinks of it as that, the purpose of it is to make them fuckable. Because if they're not fuckable, they aren't worth anything in our society. They're throwaways. So that's kind of wandering off this. But, you know, yeah, just because you outlaw abortion isn't going to stop abortion. And not only is it not going to stop it, it's not going back to where women were giving up babies for adoption, because there's no stigma anymore. How are they going to return the stigma? How are they going to be able to con women that, well, you need to find a husband, because you're telling women to go prostitute themselves? How are you going to do that? How are you going to coerce them into it? In the old days, of course, that was one of your two options. You either gave the baby up for adoption, or you married the father. Hell, in our Fuentes case from yesterday, about the criminal, the rapist, who impregnated a 10-year-old, hell, in the old days, they would coerce her to marry him. Or to give the baby up. And then the baby would grow up and find out they were a product of rape. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, God. We really have a fucked up society. That's all I can say. But anyway, I'll link this article. But yeah, it's not going to even make a dent in this thing anyway. And women are still going to get abortions. They're going to take the pills, all this stuff. And when they start seeing all these ectopic pregnancies that, of course, they're aborted or the woman dies, that's usually what it means by saving the life of the pregnant woman. They usually say mother, but pregnant woman are often the ectopic pregnancies. And I read where 1 out of 100 are that. Of all pregnancies are that. So this is, you talk about murder, that's what that is, if they can't treat it. So anyway, that's all.